Hi everyone, we are going to get started in the next 2 minutes. I'm just going to give a couple more people a chance to just going to get other people a chance to join in and get set up here. Okay, I'm just going to get started now. Quick tip, if you are seeing that your screen is quite fuzzy, you can change the screen resolution on YouTube in your settings there. So do that now if your screen is fuzzy, and I'm just going to drop that message in the live chat as well. Okay, so welcome to today's CV workshop. I'll be focusing on the marketing, advertising and PR industry. So just a bit of background on City Internships to begin, or CI. So in the 5 years since CI's launch in 2011, we've helped launch more than 1,000 careers. And we've grown from 1 city to 12 across 5 countries. And we've grown from exclusively financial services to an additional 8 industries. We've gone from 1 program to 3 program types. And now we've rebranded from City Internships to CI. So as I mentioned, today's focus is on the marketing, advertising and PR industry. So working within the marketing, advertising and public relations industry generally involves promoting a product, service or idea. The work is often challenging and fast-paced and typically involves a variety of responsibilities. So it's commonly true that many organizations have marketing, advertising and PR departments, meaning that roles can be found in both the private and public sectors. And they range from financial, retail and media industries to voluntary and public sector organizations. So before I begin, I just want to give you a rundown of some of the sort of sub-industries found within marketing, advertising and PR. It is very broad, and I will only be able to touch on a few of these today, but you can ask questions throughout the webinar. And if you don't ask a question today, feel free to send it to me. I'll share my email address at the end of this. And that goes for those of you that are watching a recording of this webinar. So within marketing PR, the industry covers digital, SEO, social media, PPC, market research and brand management. Within advertising, we have creative, copywriting, content production, art direction, account management and illustration. And then within PR directly, it's a little more straightforward, but you might be working for an agency or you might be working in-house as a PR executive or similar. So one thing to remember about this industry is it's ever changing. It's very reliant on technology, and it's greatly changed within the last couple of years. And lots of new agencies are sprouting out and taking advantage of the new technology. So if there's one thing you take away from this, it's that you must stay abreast of marketing, advertising, PR technology, and you must be able to demonstrate that on your CV. So a little bit about me before we get started. I am the head of marketing and partnerships here at CI. I have got 7 years of marketing experience. I did work briefly as a recruiter, but most of my experience has been as an in-house marketer. So a quick look at today's agenda. We will be talking about the graduate market in 2017. I'll then walk you through how to build a CV, which is the largest section here. I'll give you tips on what you should be including relevant to this industry. We'll talk a little bit about marketing your CV as well. So the graduate market in 2017, the number of graduates joining the market increases annually. So you can see some statistics on your screen there. Two that I want to point out really are the top two. So 2.5 million graduate college with a bachelor's or master's degree in the US each year. And for the same figure in the UK, 370,000. So there are a lot of graduates joining the market every year. And there are lots of graduates looking for work in London, as you can see. And you can see here that there's regularly an increase in the number of graduate applications year on year. So the graduate hiring appetite is increasing. We've divided the statistics you can see on your screen there across our two key markets, so the UK and the US. So we know that a third of Britain's top employers have seen an increase in the number of graduate applications, while over 30% of vacancies will be filled by graduates who have already worked for the organisation. So work experience is really, really important. Organisations in the US plan to hire almost 10% more of 2016 graduates for their US operations. So the graduate hiring appetite is increasing, we can see here. But what we can take away from these two slides is that the global graduate market remains saturated. So you will have to work hard to stay ahead of the game. A little bit about our programs. So we know that more than 50% of graduate recruiters warn that graduates with no previous work experience have little or no chance of receiving a job offer. So work experience is really, really important. 61% of graduating seniors in the US had an internship or a co-op experience, while 52% of those graduates receiving job offers in the US already held internships. So the majority have work experience. Now, I just want to walk you through this chart on your left. You can see that of CI's 1,000 alumni, our alumni tend to earn 30% more. They're hired 3 times faster, and this actually translates into our alumni seeing a positive return on their college investment 8 years sooner. But that aside, we know that employers consider recruiting candidates who have proven their abilities, and this is a much more reliable way of employing graduates. So that's the sort of summary of the graduate market out the way. Let's think about how to build your CV. So before I show you the next slide, I am going to throw up 2 CVs on your screen. I want you to consider which of those 2 you would choose if you were a hiring manager. So you should think about layout, format, content, and really how accessible the content is for the reader. Just remember, recruiters spend on average 5 seconds looking at a CV before they make their decision. But I'll give you 10 seconds, 5 seconds for each. Okay, not long at all. So there isn't really a right answer to this question. It's very subjective and ultimately depends on how much relevant information you have on your application. But what's important to consider is that hiring managers are looking for evidence of strong academics and work experience. Those are the 2 primary aspects. So obviously your CV should be easy to read and digest quickly, and they should be able to get that key information in those 5 seconds. So let's just have a quick look at this example CV we've got on the left here. The key factual information is outlined in green. The personality items are outlined in orange, and then the experience is outlined in blue. And this is really what will help you to stand out. Obviously, this CV has had its top chopped off, so we're missing the name and the contact information, which is equally as important. But don't worry about that. We're about to move on to a more detailed breakdown. But what you need to remember is to keep the formats clear, dates in reverse chronological order, and avoid unnecessary information. And you'll hear this all the time, but it's really important to tailor your CV to each position. So, presentation. You should start by keeping your CV clear and concise. As a student or a recent graduate, you have no reason to go over one page. This might seem difficult at first, but you should make the document as accessible as possible, and that really is simply done with one page. So start with a simple business font. Use bold or italics to emphasize text. Use bullet points to format content, and as I said, stick to one page maximum. The header of your CV should include your name, your email address, and your telephone number. For this industry, I'd recommend including your LinkedIn profile as well, but we'll come on to that shortly. Okay, so education. Now, really important. Otherwise, step 3, work experience. This is the big one. This really is the true differentiator for students looking at applying to any programs. Hold on one second, I think we may be having technical difficulties here. I'm just going to reload the presentation quickly. Okay, I've just uploaded my screen again, so I'm hoping you will be able to see it in a moment. Okay, looks like we are back. We're back live. Okay, so work experience. As I was saying, this is the true differentiator. You've got some general tips on your screen there, but I'm just going to run through a few specifics that are particularly relevant for those of you considering a career in marketing, advertising, and PR. So ROI is key. Now, if you're not familiar with this term, this is something you should really take the time to learn about. It means return on investment. Now, what you want to do with your CV is think about it as it's about getting you into the door and in front of an interviewer. So consider listing points in your work experience as items that you consider your main achievements, but also conversation points. You should set yourself up for STAR interview questions. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, an acronym, it means situation, task, action, results. So really focus on the results here. No matter what your experience, whether you have transferable skills and those are the results for the position, if you were a server, or perhaps you've already had a marketing internship, what were the results of the work that you did? You can then talk through an interviewer as to what the situation was, what task you did, and what action you took to achieve those results. To consider, if you've worked in an agency, is to list clients. Client-facing experience is really, really important and can be very positive. The fact that you've worked directly with clients is a great thing, and it's important to publicise the name of those clients, particularly if they are well known within an industry. Now, if you don't have directly relevant work experience, as I touched on, you should think about transferable skills from other roles. I worked as a waiter or a server in a hotel restaurant for almost 7 years alongside my studies. And customer service skills, the ability to juggle multiple tasks at once, the ability to go from speaking to someone who is high in authority to somebody who is my peer to a customer, all within the same minute. Those communication skills are really, really important, and things that you can work and include in your CV. Likewise, any sales experience is particularly relevant to this experience. So if you've worked in retail, or you work behind a bar, these kind of experiences are always relevant. It's just about how you pitch them and include that information. So next up, thinking about activities. You should already be a member of a relevant student organisation at your university or college. You need to think about the skills that you should be able to demonstrate, and that skills that interviewers and employers in this industry will be looking for. So activities that you pursue in your spare time and extracurricular, you should be looking to develop your communication and interpersonal skills, your capacity to work under pressure, your creativity, your oral and written skills, your commercial awareness, and your IT literacy. So whether you do that through societies and clubs, or you travel, or you have separate hobbies, or you do some voluntary work, or you've won awards for work that you've done, this all needs to be here, and it needs to be relevant to the position you're applying to. So, whether you've held a social media position for a charity, or you're a president of your marketing society at university, or something like that. Again, if you can tie these into results and things that you've achieved, then that's great. But otherwise, these positions demonstrate your passion for this industry and will help you stand out and help your CV stand out to get that interview under your belt. The other thing to think about, particularly for this industry, is you really should have a blog, or at least contribute to one. This is a great way to develop your writing skills, learn how to develop a community and everything that goes with it. So you might have a blog, you might grow a social media community around that blog, and you might use that community to dictate what kind of content you read, rather you write. The other thing is that goes with setting up a blog is the technical side of it. So if you don't know somebody that is familiar with computers and setting up a website, you'll want to learn how to set up a WordPress site or a Ghost site, or any other sort of blogging platform, and integrating it with a host and having it hosted on a URL. Lastly, image editing skills. Now, you might not be considering a position where you are directly editing images or in a design position, but the ability to do that in a small business is really, really important. Small businesses in particular will look for marketeers with a broad skill set, or people that work in advertising or PR. So the more strings to your bow, the better. And this is a great time to start learning how to use Adobe or similar software where you might be looking at editing images or anything else that you might put on your blog. The last point here on activities and how you use your spare time to improve your CV and potential applications is any relevant publications that you read. So you really should be up to date with industry news, and you can achieve this through reading through websites and magazines that are appropriate to your industry. So there are hundreds available out there, particularly relevant to lots of different countries. So focus on your local marketing, advertising and PR news, and also consider what's happening in the international scene. Might receive an interview is, tell me about a campaign that you think has been particularly successful. Now, following the STAR interview technique, you want to be able to walk your way through an advertising campaign or a marketing campaign or a PR outreach campaign, and be able to detail why you think it was particularly successful, how it was executed, and what the results were. So you might be able to find some feedback into, for example, how many Coke cans Coke were able to sell off the back of a recent advertising campaign. What percentage did that grow revenue? And if you're able to attribute that to a monetary figure, then even better. Okay, so a quick note on references. In my opinion, you don't need to worry about these too much. You want to consider having 2 or 3 pre-approved references that you have ready, but on your CV, you should add references available on request. As it says on your slide, referees that you might want to approach include your professors, deans, former employers, or anyone with whom you've done volunteer work. Um, oh, Step 6, and actually the final step to proofing your CV, and commonly forgotten, is proofreading. Fresh eyes are really key here. So make sure that your CV has conveyed all of your accomplishments and given a good impression of you as a person. Think about what you've missed out. Now, it's okay to miss things out if they're not relevant to a particular position. If you are a huge fan of playing cards and you don't think it's relevant to a position, and you've included lots of other hobbies, then you don't need to add it there. But if you think that it's something you might be able to talk to an interviewer about, or a particular sport you're a fan of, it comes down to doing your research and finding out what you can about a person. But generally, you don't want to overload them with information, but you do want to get the facts that you do have personality, you do pursue your own interests away from your studies or your work experience, while including all of your CVs, your skills on your CV. Okay, so a little bit of information about marketing your CV. It's really important to put your CV to work. There's lots of information on this slide. I'd recommend screenshotting it if you do want to avoid taking notes. But as I said earlier, I will be sending a recording round after this webinar. So use job boards and CV databases to your advantage. Use keywords, make your CV searchable, avoid cliche terms, and remember that recruiters will receive notifications, but I'll talk about recruiters in a moment. Media is really, really important for anyone considering a career in the marketing, advertising, and PR industry. You should be thinking about growing your online brand. Start off by cleansing your digital dirt. So manage your privacy settings and choose your profile picture wisely. Now, LinkedIn is great for anybody considering anybody looking for a job and reaching out directly to hiring managers. Facebook is useful if you are running a blog and you start building a community around it. You want to consider opening a Facebook page, an Instagram profile, and Twitter. But I think lots of people are very familiar with these platforms. Use them wisely and use them to build your personal brand. So particularly Twitter is a great one for this. Contribute to online conversations, become part of the conversations, and don't be afraid to reach out to people directly and ask them about job openings. Remember that on LinkedIn, every time you add somebody and you become their connection, you are able to then widen your network, your circle. So that means that you can access their network indirectly, enabling you to add people, send direct messages, and start building your brand. So raise awareness of your blog and raise awareness of the fact that you are looking for a job. Which really brings me on to direct advertising. It's really important to be proactive. You should contact employers directly. Use LinkedIn, as I've already mentioned, and use Google to source potential points of contact. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call a hiring manager and find out if they are hiring. Lots of current students and recent graduates will not take that step. It will help you to stand out and it might get your foot in the door. So absolutely go for that. Here is on recruitment agencies. Just to give you a bit of context, agencies are remunerated by employers when a vacancy is filled. So their priority is finding good candidates for vacancies, not the other way around. So you are a commodity in this sense. Help recruiters and they will help you. So learn how to sell yourself. Learn how to put together your elevator pitch. You should be able to give somebody a complete walkthrough of your profile within under a minute. So you can aim for 30 seconds. So you want to consider what your background is, what you've achieved so far, and what you're looking to do, and why they should take you on. Take advantage of their market knowledge, speak to recruiters, learn about their relationships, learn about their market coverage, and then use multiple recruiters. There are lots of marketing, advertising, PR specific recruiters that you might want to approach, and those that are more general. The more general ones might work with larger firms who recruit across lots of different functions. So in summary, build your CV to give yourself a head start, create an inventory of your skills, consider future additions, think about where your gaps are, and draft multiple CVs for each position. Once you draft a CV, it should give you a good idea of a position that you're interested in. If you compare the two, you should immediately see where the gaps are. Consider tools like LinkedIn Learning, previously Linda, to start taking online free courses and learn about, if you think you're only basic proficiency in Excel, and a company is looking for a student with intermediate proficiency, there's no reason why you can't take the time to learn that skill in your spare time. And then market your CV, as I've just covered. Explore job boards and agencies, check your online presence, and really make the most of your network. So we're just going to come on to the QA section here. My email address is alex, A-L-E-X, at city-internships.com. If you are interested in receiving a CV template, I'll gladly send you one if you email me. Now, please do drop your question in on the question box to the right of your screen. In the meantime, I'm just going to run through some terms that I think are important that you should know. I'm also going to run over a couple of general interview questions, and then I'm going to pass on a couple of must-read websites for each industry. I apologise, I do have a cold. I apologise for all the sniffing, but please do bear with me. You'll only hear me droning on for another 2 or 3 minutes. So terminology, what terms, phrases and concepts should I know? This is a really common question that we get asked, and advice that we often pass on to students that are interviewing through us. So what is content marketing? I'm sure you're familiar, but a quick overview. It is essentially creating and distributing relevant and valuable content to people to attract, acquire, engage a target audience on a much more subtle level than direct advertising. What does PPC mean? PPC is pay per click. It's really an internet business model in which a company places an advertisement on a website and pays every time that the ad is clicked by a user. That is similar to CPC, cost per click, and different to CPM, is cost per mille, which means you essentially pay for every cost. You pay for every 1,000 views. So if you're trying to get people to look at your ad versus actually click on it and engage with it, that might be a better option. What is SEO? SEO is search engine optimization. It's all around maximizing the number of website visitors that you receive by ensuring that your website is as high as possible within search engine results. Often referred to as slightly different is SEM, which is search engine marketing. So SEO can often be referred to optimizing the actual website, so including the right metadata, ensuring that you have proper content that is relevant to users and people will engage with, versus SEM, which is more around direct outreach and taking part in that. Public affairs is another common one that we're asked about. Public affairs is around influencing public policy that may impact a client's business operations, all while building and maintaining strong, positive relationships with stakeholders. Lastly, the other one I want to cover is copywriting. So different to content marketing, it's all around purposefully written content, which is conveyed through online media or print material. So a quick cover, I just want to look at some must-read websites, and then I'll come on to the interview questions. So IPA, which is the Institute of Practitioners in Advertising. It's a great treasure trove of industry news, advice, and explanation around the advertising industry. If you're looking at the creative industries, take a look at 99U. Lots of tips around being a better employee and leader, daily insights of productivity, and lots of information on what it's like to work in a creative environment. Take a look at the Marketoonist. Lots of marketing and branding lessons portrayed in comic strip form. It's quite entertaining. And then for those of you interested in PR, take a look at PR Daily and Bulldog Reporter. Lots of news on public relations and communications, and resources written in a short, punchy style. So I just want to run over 2 interview questions, one I actually mentioned earlier, which is your favorite marketing, advertising, or PR campaign and why. So I won't cover that again. A common one is why marketing, advertising, and PR, and really regardless of which industry you're considering, you should be able to answer and provide information on why you are considering a particular industry. Now, this is usually a personal question, but within this industry, I'd say the main thing to focus on is that this is all around influence. It's all around testing, working with technology, and figuring out how something works, why it works, how people are motivated to react in a certain way. So there's lots of interesting talking points around that question. Now, you might be asked, and this is the last interview question that I'll touch on, and a common one is, if you were to create a marketing campaign for a fictional or real life company of the interviewer's choosing, consider what it might be and why it would be successful. So you want to focus on ROI. So you want to consider the why they'd consider a campaign like that, how you'd make it successful, how you'd measure it and work on improving that campaign throughout its life cycle, and then how you'd measure it afterwards. How would you know it's successful? So you'd want to consider what the goals are from the beginning, what the campaign would be, what resources you might want, and why it might be successful. It's a common question we ask people here when we're interviewing at City Internships, and it's a question that really displays your knowledge of a company. It displays your knowledge of their current marketing campaigns, what they're doing to attract customers, and how you can add value to that position. It's a very simple question. It's a great way to demonstrate that you understand all of those things about a company and that you are able to add value, which is critical in any marketing, advertising, or PR position. It's similar to sales in that respect. At the end of the day, you're looking to contribute to a company's bottom line, grow a company, and take them to the next level, or grow a client. Okay, so my email address again is Alex, ALEX, at city-internships. I will send around a recording of this webinar in a moment, but I would be glad to answer your questions via email. I hope you found today's recording useful, today's webinar useful. Please do subscribe to our channels for notifications of upcoming webinars, and do share this recording with your friends.